Welcome to your AEW Dynamite recap for Wednesday, September 16, 2020. I am the Solomonster. You know, one of my favorite all-time street fights in wrestling is actually a WCW match, Spring Stampede 1994. I talked about the match on the podcast before. I think it was part of my WCW countdown many years ago. But if you've never seen it, it was Spring Stampede 94. It was the Nasty Boys against Max Payne and Cactus Jack. And to this day, one of the most brutal matches that I have ever seen. I almost feel guilty watching it. The way that the beating that Mick Foley took in that match, especially at the finish, was inhumane. But it's one of my favorite WCW matches that I've ever seen. This parking lot brawl tonight with Santana and Ortiz against Best Friends at the end of the show tonight on Dynamite is right up there alongside of it. I'm not going to say if it's better or not, but it's in that same category. It's in that same league. These guys beat the ever-loving crap out of each other in the main event tonight. If you're going to have a street fight, you got to go all out and do it the right way. And I will give AEW credit for that. They said they were going to have a parking lot fight, and that is exactly what they had. They had a fight. That was a hell of a main event, and one of the best finishes to any episode of Dynamite that I've ever seen, with Trent's mom at the very end. I'll get into exactly what happened here as we go along. I love that main event. Funny thing about the Spring Stampede match, I'm pretty sure they had Tony Schiavone on commentary for that as well. So you got Tony Schiavone on commentary in 94 for that match, and Tony Schiavone on commentary tonight for this one. So it's good to hear Tony's voice. But thank you for joining me and choosing me for your Dynamite coverage tonight. Please do, while you are here, if you are a new viewer, if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, do go ahead and hit that sub button, so that way when we go live in the future, you'll be part of all the action, and you'll know exactly when live streams are going up. Make sure your notifications are on. Hit that like button. And if you want to drop any super chats, they are open, as they are every week. Super chats are open. They'll be appearing on screen. I'll read every single one. So if you have a question you want to submit, that would be the best way to do it. We've got a brand new $15 You've Let the Big Show Down donation. You already know the Disappointed Solomonster one. Now you have a Disappointed Big Show. So you can find all the special amounts down below in the description. That is one way you can support this channel. So why don't we get right into it here? We got no time to waste. We had Jurassic Express in the ring already for the opener. They were wrestling FTR this week. This was a non-title match. AEW Tag Team Championships not on the line. We were told by the announcers, I think it was Excalibur who mentioned, that FTR did not want to defend their titles against Jurassic Express. I didn't know that they had the authority to make that decision on their own, but apparently they had input, and they said, yeah, we don't really feel like defending the titles, so we're not going to. So this was not a championship match. The Young Bucks, before FTR could come to the ring, the Young Bucks walked out in their street clothes. They got into the ring, and the first thing they did was they hit referee Mike Posey with super kicks. And they knocked out poor Mike Posey, and they walked to the back. So I guess even the Young Bucks are very unhappy with the officiating in AEW. This is out on the heels of them super kicking Alex Marvez, and I'm going to mention Marvez here in a second. Super kicking Alex Marvez in the back last week. Remember, they were fined $5,000 each. So they just super kicked a referee, walked to the back, and the camera is following them as they're walking into, I guess, what would be the AEW equivalent of the gorilla position. And who is sitting there at the gorilla position but Tony Khan? Now, Tony Khan, I'm pretty sure we've seen him on Dynamite before. I'm almost positive there's been at least one other time where he's been briefly seen. But he is not a character on the show. We usually don't see him on the show. I'm not worried about him being added as a character. We don't need him as a character. We don't need an authority figure in AEW. But he was sitting there wearing exactly the same thing that I would be wearing if I had to sit there in the Florida heat and the Florida humidity in the back like that. He looked like he was ready to hit the beach. And the Young Bucks, I think they threw money at him. It's like they're paying their fine in advance. So they walk past Tony Khan. There's FTR. They exchange a few words, and off walk the Bucks. FTR has smiles on their faces, and so they walk out to the ring. So the build has begun. The build has begun to the Bucks and FTR. They're doing the slow build. Did the Young Bucks turn heel? They're acting like it. I don't know that I would call it a heel turn. I don't think it's going to last. I don't think the Young Bucks have gone heel. I think they're showing a different side of themselves. See, my problem with this, and it's not even like a big problem, but they're out there walking around, kicking people, and they're acting like a couple of badasses. The Young Bucks are not badasses. I cannot look at the Young Bucks and think to myself, boy, these two guys are a couple of badasses. No, they're not. They're best when they're smug. If they're going to go heel, go full heel and just be smug and arrogant. The smug Bucks. That can work. The Young Bucks walking around with their chests all puffed out like they're a bunch of tough guys, that just doesn't work for me. But I thought this match was a great opener for the show this week. Jurassic Express. You got Jungle Boy out there, and you'll notice that this has been going on now for a while. That every week, whether he wins or loses, and he does lose a lot of matches, the Jurassic Express does not win, every match that they're in, but they've been really giving a lot of airtime, a lot of shine to Jungle Boy. They've really been putting him in situations where he can go on Dynamite week after week and just really go out there and just shine and show everybody what he's made of, show everybody what he's capable of. And he's getting more and more over, I feel like, with every appearance that he makes. And look, Jungle Boy, I put him up there with Hangman, MJF, and probably Darby. I throw Darby Allin in there as that young core of talent that they have in that company. And I think you'll be able to add Ricky Starks over time to that group as well. But I think Hangman, Darby, Sammy to a lesser degree. I don't know what's going on lately with Sammy. But Jungle Boy is in that group. I think of guys that this company can build around, that they are building around, that they see as the future. When I say stars of the company, I don't just mean in the middle of the card. I mean the future stars of this company. Jungle Boy may not be the biggest guy in the world, but clearly he's very popular. He's very talented. He's very young. He's got all the tools to be a big star in the company, regardless of whether he's 6'5" or not. So I put him in that upper tier of guys they're going to be building around for these next 5 years in this company. Unless we start seeing defections the other way, from AEW to WWE. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It may take a couple of years, but it happened with WCW back in 20 years ago. Guys went back and forth. It wasn't everybody just defecting over to WCW. Eventually, you had WCW guys defecting to WWE. Maybe the question we should be asking is, who among all of these AEW talents is going to be the first to go either back to WWE or for the first time go to WWE? But hey, maybe they'll all be happy in AEW. If Tony Khan can keep them all happy, maybe there won't be too much back and forth. But this was a great opener. We had Cash Wheeler. He had cut off Jungle Boy with a power slam. And FTR was working him over for a while. Luchasaurus got the hot tag, came in, was running wild with kicks, hit a standing moonsault for a near fall. Jungle Boy blind tagged himself back into the match. FTR gave him... there was a sequence here, and I think it was mostly Jungle Boy and Harwood, back and forth. Just all of these near fall attempts, close 2 counts, all just in rapid fire succession. Jungle Boy and Harwood are trading strikes back and forth. Wheeler and Luchasaurus, they brawl out to the floor. So now it's just Jungle Boy and it's Dax, right, in the ring. So Wheeler just launches Luchasaurus over the barricade outside the ring. Jungle Boy hits a tope through the ropes out onto Wheeler. Jungle Boy is one of the few who I think should be allowed to be doing dives like that. In fact, I name dropped him and I think Darby were the 2 AEW guys I name dropped when I went on my rant about dives, mostly about bigger guys doing dives. Jungle Boy is one of those guys who should be able to do moves like this because it makes him stand out more. But you still don't want to overdo it. I still don't want to overdose on dives here on these shows. But he was one of the names that I mentioned as being the ones that should be doing dives if he wants to. But he tried for a sunset flip near the ropes, and Wheeler and Tully Blanchard, they basically reversed the move. And so they reversed Dax into the other direction. And they reverse the cradle, and he pins Jungle Boy. Might have been holding their hands from the outside, so they cheated. Because they're heels, and that's what heels do. But they got the win. And that's the other thing I liked about this. The champions, first of all, the champions didn't get beat. If the champions got beat, then they would have become the number one contenders. But that's what they wanted you to believe. Like, that's been the formula in wrestling and in WWE for so long, that if you have a non-title match, and the stipulation is that the challengers, if they win, are going to get a championship match next week on TV, then the expectation is that, well, I guess the challengers are going to win, right? Because you got to build to the title match. But no, the champions won. So Jurassic Express will not get their title match next week. They did not follow the formula. And I like that. I could appreciate that. To the back, I mentioned Mr. Marvez a moment ago. There was Alex Marvez. No selling the super kicks from the Young Bucks, right? I mean, I figured maybe he'd be carrying his teeth around in a plastic baggie. He'd have some kind of wrap around his jaw or something. No, he's no selling the super kicks. He rushes over. Something's happened in the back. And it's Matt Hardy. As if this fucking guy has not been through enough. Matt Hardy is writhing around on the ground in pain. He's holding his legs. Something happened. Maybe he got a Charlie horse. We don't know. We don't know what's good. And by the way, those Charlie horses, they're pretty painful. All right. If that were me, I'd be writhing around on the floor too. Don't judge me. But it wasn't a Charlie horse. We don't know exactly what happened. We are left to assume. Private Party, they were there. They said, I don't know. One minute we were discussing strategy, because Matt is like their mentor. And they go, the next minute we turned around and Matt's on the ground. And then over walks Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. Jericho's got the baseball bat in his hand. He's got Floyd. And he's laughing. Oh, what happened to Matt? Oh, gee, you got to be real careful around here. So obviously, we know exactly what happened to Matt. They were mocking him. But poor Matt Hardy. Poor Matt Hardy just can't catch a break. But the good news is that from what I'm being told, in my non-existent earpiece, Dr. Sampson has cleared Matt and said that Matt is good to go. So Matt is cleared to wrestle. We had Kenny Omega joining on commentary for the next match, which was a singles match. It was Hangman Page against Frankie Kazarian of SCU. And we were told by the announcers that originally this was conceived of as a tag team match. This was supposed to be Hangman and Omega against SCU, but there's been a split. And Omega has, he made it clear on commentary here that he's not interested in doing the tag team thing anymore. He's ready to branch back off into the singles ranks. They did acknowledge them that they are the number one seed, number one spot, whatever, in the tag team rankings. So he said, well, look, if we're number one, then I guess, if we end up having to get a championship match, then so be it. But it's not something I'm pursuing. I'm ready to move on. I want to, focus on my singles career. Isn't that what everybody in AEW, all the AEW fans have been asking for? No, I've been asking for it. I agree with Kenny. It's about time he goes back into the singles ranks. But the fact that they're talking about them being number one tells you that there's going to be a rematch. We are going to get Hangman and Omega in a rematch with FTR at some point, probably on TV, maybe on that anniversary show. In fact, I can almost guarantee you it probably will be on the anniversary show. They're going to build that thing up like a really big deal. They're going to build that anniversary show up. That would be the perfect place to do it. So there was a running shooting star press by Hangman. Always very impressive to, Hangman's not a small man. He's really not. I've met him. I've stood next to him. He's a big guy. Not a big guy like the Brian Cage big or, Great Khali big, but he's a big dude. But he did a running shooting star to Kazarian for a near fall. There was a slingshot DDT into the ring by Kazarian to Hangman for a near fall. This is actually a pretty good match. I thought this match was pretty good. I enjoyed the opener more, but this was a very good match. Hangman hit a Liger bomb at one point for a near fall. So Hangman was out on the apron, and they were trading strikes, and Page Kazarian went for a move. It might have been a dragon screw in the ropes, I don't remember, but he shoved him off. And in the time it took for Kazarian, to kind of recover and turn back around. In comes Hangman for the finish, the buckshot lariat, and he gets the win. As soon as this match was over, Kenny Omega could not get off commentary fast enough. He goes, well, thanks, guys. Put the headset down, and he got the hell out of there. He was trying to get out of there before Hangman, who looked the whole time like he was trying to impress Kenny. He was looking over at him. He wanted to get out of there before Hangman could see him. So Kenny goes back through the tunnel, and then Hangman's looking around. He looks over by the announce desk, and he doesn't see his partner. He doesn't see Kenny. There's no Kenny Omega. And this guy looked like he had just gotten dumped by his girlfriend. Either that or his dog died. He had this really sad look on his face. He asked the ring announcer to toss him a beer anyway, because that's what you do when you're depressed, right? You drink. Although you shouldn't really need an excuse to drink. That's actually probably a very bad thing to do. If you're down in the dumps, you're depressed, drinking is the worst thing that you could do. Not that I would know. But poor Hangman. He lost his partner. He lost his best friend. You'd be sad too if your partner wanted nothing to do with you anymore. So you kind of feel bad for the Hangman. The Super Chats are rolling on in. I want to just read off a couple here that came in before we even went live. And again, I do appreciate everybody who supports the show in that way. Sohail. What's going on, Sohail? Lost 15 plus pounds on a diet, but lost my job today, but always great to see you. Keep it up. Wow, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm very sorry. I'm going to fix this. We're fixing it right now. I apologize. I hate when that happens. I hate when the internet goes down. Oh, yeah. Let's see if we can fix this, guys. Let's see if we can fix this. I see all your messages, guys. I see all your messages. I apologize. Hopefully we're back in business here. There was a hiccup in the internet connection. It happens, right? Shit happens, but you're here. We lost 400 viewers, but hopefully they'll come back once they realize that we're back. I don't know why that happened. But again, sometimes the internet connection dips out. I'm going to have a nice conversation with Verizon Fios tomorrow. You can rest assured of that. Well, hopefully everybody will come on back in because I want to make sure they know we're back. All right, well, you guys in the chat will let me know if there's any other issues. Hopefully we're back and everybody can hear me. So, MJF. I don't know where we left off with you guys, but I was about to get into the next match here, and then we'll get back. I'm going to get all the Super Chats in, I promise. I'm not going to miss any of you. MJF against Shawn Dean. This thing did not even go 10 seconds. This was one of the quickest matches I've ever seen. Bell rang, MJF poked him in the eye, and he locked on the Salt of the Earth armbar for the immediate win. So a very quick win for MJF, who takes the microphone. He's got something to say. And so MJF is going to address the crowd. He says that he's very upset that Jon Moxley cheated at All Out. He should still be undefeated. Not only should he be undefeated still, but he should be the AEW World Champion. So he's very upset about this. He wants people to refer to him as the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned World Champion of All Elite Wrestling. He called Justin Roberts a smooth-brained schmuck. I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to mean. Smooth-brained? Is that supposed to be an insult? If somebody said that I had a smooth brain, I'd be like, thank you. I mean, I could think of worse things to call somebody. I just thought that was a very bizarre insult. But he forced him to refer to him as the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned AEW World Champion, which he did. He goes, to get ahead in this company, I'm noticing something. He goes, to get ahead, you've got to be part of a faction. You've got to be part of a faction or a stable. And he said, I'm a lone wolf. But maybe it's about time that this lone wolf joined a wolf pack. Not the wolf pack. Too sweet like that, right? Not the wolf pack, but a wolf pack. And he left it at that. He didn't say he was going to join for sure. He just said whether I join or I don't join, I'm better than you and you know it. But he's teasing the idea that he's going to link up with an existing faction within AEW. And to me, I know it feels like there's a lot of different factions, but there aren't that many really for a guy like him to join. Eddie Kingston, for him to join Eddie Kingston's group makes no sense because Eddie Kingston's group is comprised of tag teams. Right? I mean, that's what Eddie Kingston's group is made up of. And also, a group like that, MJF and Eddie Kingston are two of the best talkers in the entire company. You don't need two guys like that in the same faction. You only need one. So to me, that doesn't really make any sense. What would make more sense is if they are in fact going to form some kind of new horseman-type group, whatever they end up calling them, involving Tully and FTR, and anybody else who might possibly join that group. That's the kind of group that if MJF was going to join a faction, I could see him being part of. And even that, I'm not really a big fan of. I don't think MJF needs to be part of a faction. But if he's going to be, that's the type of group that I can see him in. Walking out there, wearing the suits, wearing the nice clothes, being the mouthpiece for the group. Like what The Rock was to the Nation of Domination when he started to take over from Farouk, and Farouk thought this guy was becoming a little too big for his britches. That is what I can see MJF being in a group like that. And so I guess we'll see which side he ends up on. Kind of interesting. It's a different direction for him. Right? Changes things up a little bit, I guess. I assume Wardlow would come along with him. Maybe Wardlow could be the muscle of the group, I guess. That's always a possibility. So we'll see. I think we got everybody back, which is good to see. Again, if you're just joining, if you refreshed from before, we had a little hiccup, a little glitch in the Matrix, but we're back. We always come back. Speaking of Eddie Kingston, that brings me to Eddie Kingston, one of my favorite parts of Dynamite, when he's actually on the show. Each week is Eddie Kingston. He was in the ring with the Lucha Bros and the Butcher and the Blade. Those are his guys. Those are his four guys right there. And he says, first of all, he reminds everybody that he did not lose in the Battle Royal. He wants everybody to remember that. He was not eliminated in the Battle Royal at the pay-per-view. So it's very important to remember. He calls the group a family. We're not a faction. We're not a stable. We're a family. He goes, sometimes families fight. Most of the time when families fight, they go out to dinner to make up, or they have some kind of family therapy session. He says, not us. We're a family of violence. We enjoy being violent. And he calls over to the Butcher and the Blade. Now, the Butcher and the Blade are outside the ring. Pentagon and Phoenix are inside the ring. And he looks over at the Butcher and the Blade, and he says to them, find me a victim, please. So the Butcher and the Blade reach over the barricade, and they drag a bunch of wrestlers over in the front row, and they just start beating the shit out of them. And I didn't recognize the guy with the blue hair. I know Griff Garrison, the long-haired kid. That was Griff Garrison. I know that. And they're just beating these guys up. And then Eddie ends it with this. He says, all is well with the Lucha Bros. All is well with Phoenix. All is well with my best friend Pentagon. And he says, he turns his attention to the Blade. And he looks right at the Blade. I was starting to think, oh no, they're going to kick the Blade out. They're going to turn the Butcher on the Blade. You can't have one without the other. Thankfully, that didn't happen. But he looked at the Blade and he said to the Blade, now it's time for you to get your house in order. And he didn't say anything else. He just told the Blade, it's time for you to get your house in order. And I'm guessing that is probably bad news for QT Marshall. QT Marshall has been hanging with Allie now for a number of months. Allie in real life is the Butcher's wife. Now, who was the Butcher in Impact? The Butcher was, what was his name there? Was he Braxton Sutter? Was that his name? Anyway, he and Allie are an item in real life. I think they're husband and wife. So it looks like the Butcher and the Blade may be getting their bunny back. More importantly, she used to be with them. She was the bunny, and they might be getting their bunny back. I have no idea what else Eddie Kingston could be referring to. What else could this guy be talking about, if not referring to Allie? So that's I suppose that is one of those developing stories that we will have to follow. I do want to just make a mention of something here. This is going to, I know, be welcome news to a lot of you who are a fan of the segment. There is a brand new episode of RSPW Rewind dropping this week. Oh yes, if you have been waiting for the next installment, it's been several weeks. You will not have to wait much longer. This Friday at noon Eastern time, right here on the YouTube channel, a brand new episode of RSPW Rewind is going to drop, and this is one of the many posts in this video. Chris Jericho, mid-carder for life? Oh, it's going to be a great installment. Over 30 minutes worth, so I hope you will join me. It's not live, it's going to drop Friday at noon. So come on back here to the YouTube channel then, and it's going to be a brand new episode. People get very excited for RSPW Rewind. I love doing it too. And we got some good ones. We got some good ones coming up this week. Let me just play some catch up here. I was about to go through some of the super chats when we had our little hiccup before. And they are coming in, which is awesome because we lost like 400 people. I think we got most of them back. Now I'm all sad. These will cheer me up though. Your super chats are definitely cheering me up here. So I will definitely be getting to all of these as we go along. Let me just mention this one, though. Jackalope, by the way, thank you. Lord Frieza thought the show tonight was better than the last couple of weeks. I did, too. I thought this was a very good show. Says, I wonder if they'll hit 1 million again. Not tonight. I would be very surprised. I don't want to say shocked. I'll be very surprised if AEW hits another 1 million tonight. NXT back in their normal slot. I think there's a very good chance AEW will be above 900,000. But maybe not even that. There'll definitely be a drop-off. But it doesn't change the fact that I thought it was a very good show. You can have a great show get a shitty rating and a show get a great rating that's an absolute dog show. You know, the numbers don't necessarily correlate to a great show. Case in point, some of the weeks of SmackDown, when the numbers go up, it ain't always so great. And Jacob Donnelly, thank you for the 10, man. This show was pretty much the opposite, he says, of last week. Very few promos, but the wrestling was pretty great. Top to bottom, really enjoyed the show. As did I. As did I. So now we move on to another good match. Again, I probably enjoyed the opener more. But Private Party against Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. Now trying to work their way up the tag team ranks. We heard from Jericho last week. Now he's aspiring to become a co-holder of the AEW Tag Team Championship. That is his new dream.